Haircut today, and it looks awesome, by the way. All right. That's right. You got to kind of make sure that you don't fall off these things. But with that, so let's get started. As always, trying to tackle your questions. If you have more questions, there's a black box over there. Drop your question in it. Doesn't matter what the topic is. We want to try and get as many questions as we can basically the week after the weekend. So in 3 weeks, first week of October. I'm bad at math. You know that. That's going to be our last week in this series, and we're going to be tackling all your questions. That's the whole night. We're just going to try and tackle all the questions you've asked so far. So if you still have that burning question you wanted to get asked, please drop it in the box over there. You don't have to put your name on it. It's not like we're going to call you every day and were you the one who asked that question? No, so we're not going to do that. But anyhow, so great question here. We're going to start off with, how do I know when it's time to make it official? Great question. When do I know it's time to make it official? Easy question. First and foremost, do you like each other? Again, do you like each other? That's kind of a prerequisite. If you like them and they don't like you, probably shouldn't try to make it official. If they like you and you don't like them, please don't try to make it official. It's not going to work out well. And again, we've kind of answered a little bit of this prior weeks. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but are you what the Bible would call equally yoked? Do you think the same thing about Jesus that they do? If you guys don't believe the same thing about Jesus, it's going to be problematic, so you need to be equally yoked. But what I think is super important, especially when it comes to making it official, is it's time to leave this zone of hanging out. I think sometimes so many relationships that should be or could be kind of just always stay in this limbo of we're just hanging out. We're just chilling. We're fine. We don't want to commit to each other. So let's just be real. Being official, it's a good thing. Every healthy relationship, if you want it to progress, you need to make it official. That's what finally making that marriage vow, that is like the final level of making a relationship official. But even as you're dating, if you want to make this relationship official, that means you need to make it exclusive. So if you want to make a relationship official with somebody, it means you're exclusive. That means you need to stop flirting with everybody. If you want to start dating somebody, like, hey, let's actually start dating. I really like you. I want to see if we want to get married. You need to stop flirting with other people. Got to be exclusive. So with that, how do you know when it's time? It depends on the relationship. But I think if you can kind of answer those questions and talk with that person, if it seems serious and you've talked, you really like hanging out with each other, you got some chemistry going on, make it official. But when you make a relationship official, you need to make it exclusive. Does that make sense? Cool. All right.
Okay, and the second question was, what do you think the best way to go about physical contact during a relationship is? First of all, boundaries.
You're not allowed to touch each other at all.
Please don't touch
That's
each other.
That's the rule. You can't touch each other. Don't breathe.
No holding
Don't
hands.
sit in the same room. Don't think about each other.
No side hugs. No, first I think boundaries are really, really, really important. Not only in the relationship, but also as an individual. Before you even think about getting into a relationship, you personally need to consider the boundaries that you are going to take prior to stepping into that relationship and hold tight to them and do not budge. Now, once you have done that, moving into the relationship, those boundaries need to be made clear very early on. And if they are not good with that, you need to very, very, very carefully be praying, is this God's will? And usually if they're not respecting your boundaries, it is not. So once you agree on those boundaries, and of course, depending on the person and everything, it varies. I know a couple that did not hold hands until they were engaged. Why? Because holding hands opened the door to many other things. So closing that door early on and waiting until they were engaged is how they did it. I am not saying that is for everybody. That was not for Taylor and I. But it is very wise to communicate. Communicate. Do not make assumptions. Communicate. Talk to them. If they are not on the same page with you, that is when you take a step back and make sure you, again, communion with the Lord. Pray about it. Hey, Lord, is this person going to budge on this or not? Your boundaries stay your boundaries. The question is not, asking, how far is too far? Do not ever ask that question when you are in a relationship, because you are getting very dangerous. So instead of asking how far is too far, you need to ask, how can we help better each other and be more like Jesus?
That's so good.
If that you cannot answer that with your boundaries, then you need to reevaluate.
That's good. That's good.
So the next question, third question, what are some ways to recover from a bad relationship where I was in the wrong?
It's a great question. I'm going to try not to fall over because I almost did the last question. So that's a boundary. See, how far is too far? See, I can rock too far and then fall over. With that. So it really depends on what you mean by in the wrong. Like, what exactly do you mean by that? It also kind of depends on what you mean by, like, recover. You want to recover a relationship, or are you in the wrong? So A, what does it mean in the wrong? And B, what does it mean by recover? You know, are you looking to get back together? Does recovery for you in this relationship look like restoring that relationship, or does it look like moving on and kind of healing from it? But I think that repentance and humility are key. I think that's a big deal for any relationship, any fractured relationship, not just romantic relationships. I think any human relationship, I think it's super important that repentance and humility come into play. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
With this is the verse that I think of when it comes to recovering from a bad relationship, trying to make amends. Matthew 5:22, 5:23, 24. I've been talking a lot today. But Jesus basically says this. He's like, hey, if you're offering your sacrifice, you're offering your gift at the altar, and then you remember that a brother or sister has something against you, if you're offering a service, especially when it comes to ministry, maybe you're giving, whatever, maybe it's you're worshiping, you remember, hey, brother or sister has something against me. I wronged them. Jesus says, hey, put your gift down, go make it right, and then come back. So even for you, that might mean, hey, I'm trying to worship, and then it's like, oh, wait, I really hurt that person's feelings. That means you better pull out your phone and text them that you're sorry. You know, make that right away. That's something that's so key, is that if you've wronged somebody, part of being a Christian is you need to make it right. That happens regardless.
Also, going back to what your definition of is in the wrong, you need to have accountability.
Yeah.
You need to be talking to other people who are strong in communion with the Lord. If you are the person who asked this question, I'd really much appreciate you coming and talking to us so we can further explain, because it's a little vague, because it depends on the situation of how you were in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right. And just one thing is, it kind of touches on this, but one thing I see a lot, and I see a lot in counseling situations, is a relationship breaks up for whatever reason. Maybe it's a good reason. It was a healthy thing for that relationship to break up. Maybe it's just it was a rough relationship from the start. Either way, a relationship, falls apart. But then immediately it's this, but let's still be friends. Guys, please, that's not healthy. If a relationship breaks up, especially a romantic relationship, what you need is not to be friends. Friendship can come back later. You need space. You need time to heal. So no matter what kind of relationship that was that broke up, breakups are hard. They hurt. They're painful. And you need time to heal. So that's one thing that I see so often, and I never see it ending well. Literally send the breakup text, but let's still be friends. How about not? You were romantically linked, lots of feelings involved. Now you got hurt feelings. Take a step back. You don't have to be friends with them. We are called to love our neighbor. We don't have to be friends with every one of our neighbors. You don't have to constantly spend time with somebody who you're just in a relationship with. Your heart needs to heal. So make sure you're giving yourself time to do that. But again, like Savannah said, every situation is specific. So again, it depends kind of on what you mean by in the wrong. It depends on what you mean by recover that relationship. And again, that's why there's comfort in community. There's comfort in getting counseling. So again, there's no shame in asking a question. So come on up if you have kind of a follow-up question or you want to get more information. Come on up, talk to us after service, and we'd love to talk to you and try and explain that some more. But with that, guys, thank you so much for coming here to Spectrum tonight. I love you guys. We love you. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Don't freeze to death. See you guys next week.